Hi, Dr. Paul Haider here. You know, angels are talked about in every spiritual tradition. It's true. In Islam and Christianity and Hinduism and everything that you can think of, every spiritual tradition, they talk about angels. And they talk about them interacting with people and helping people in amazing ways as messengers of the great manifest that or God. I want to tell you about 3 stories of true stories about how angels have come down and manifested themselves to help people. The first one is about a man who was traveling at amazing speed in his car. He was going 120 miles an hour. And he was trying to get somewhere, and he was speeding like crazy. And all of a sudden he hit a car. And the other car was knocked off the road, but they didn't have any, there was no deaths or anything in that car. But he was actually ejected out of the car through the windshield and landed on top of the hood, and the thing started bursting into flames, the whole car. And at that point, the people started gathering around, but they could not get close to the car. But people had to stay back 50 to 100 feet because it was so hot. And all of a sudden, people saw this. 2 men just walked up and grabbed this man and pulled him off of that car and laid him in the crowd, and all of a sudden they disappeared. And it was as though they were not affected by the flames at all. And then they were gone. Those 2 men were gone. They looked like normal human beings. And nobody could ever find them again. And that man in the car accident, he ended up spending a long time in a body cast and having burn rehabilitation. But he did survive. There was a reason he was supposed to live. A true story. Another story is there was another car accident, and there was a man who actually lost control of his SUV, and he slid off the road, rolled down the embankment, and as he did, the top of the car crashed down, so it was only about 6 inches wide, the opening of the windows. And he was trapped in there, and he was screaming, "God help me! God help me! God help me!" And it started smoldering, and he thought he was going to burn to death. And then one guy came down from the highway and was down there, and he saw that it was going to burst into flames. He said, "Please, God, help this man." So he reached down through the window, and he had a knife in his pocket. He pulled out his knife, and he cut the seatbelt off the man. And from there, he proceeded to try to pull this big man, he was a big, big man, through that small opening. But it wasn't possible for him to do that. And then all of a sudden, there was this white light that appeared beside him on his left side. And as that happened, 2 hands of light came over and grabbed the man above where he was holding on to the man that was in the car. And with one giant yank, the man came out of that SUV, and they kind of rolled down the hill a little farther, and then the car burst into flames. And the man that was in the car and the man that was helping, they looked at each other, and they said, "Did you see those hands?" And they said, "Yeah, I saw them." And to this day, every time they see each other, they kind of get teared up, and they know that an angel was there to help that man survive. True story. Then there was a mother And they had a business, and the son worked in the business. And they lived out in the country, but they had this garbage collection company, and the son was going off to work, and so she finally got herself together, and she was going off, and she was going to help with the business. It was a few miles away, and she got in her car to go there. And all of a sudden she had this overwhelming feeling that something was wrong with her son, and she looked up and said, "Please, my guardian angel, take care of my son, take care of my son." And it was so overwhelming that she even pulled off to the side of the road, and she just sat there for a minute. And then she got her composure back and then continued driving. And when she got to the business and went into the shop, she didn't tell her husband, didn't say anything to her husband about what she was feeling about what just happened. And then her son drove up. And she asked her son, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" He said, "I was driving along, and it was really foggy that morning, and he was driving, and I was waiting for the fog to kind of lift so I could keep going to get to work. And all of a sudden I had this huge feeling that I should move over. And it was this feeling that something was in the car with me and wanted me to move over to the other lane. And it was on this 4-lane highway, and he had 2 lanes on his side of the highway and 2 lanes on the other side of the highway. And he just had this overwhelming nagging feeling, and there was something beside him there, a presence. And all of a sudden he said, "I give in." He moved over to the other lane. And at that same moment, another car going the wrong way on the road came down the highway where he had been with his car. And he would have been killed. No doubt about it. A true story. We have guardian angels. There is a hierarchy of angels. There's Gabriel, Raphael, Ariel, Michael, and just about all the spiritual texts talked about Archangel Michael and Gabriel. And they are there to protect us. And we should connect to God and allow those angels to do their work and to help us. Because we're made to help us. But we have to ask God for the help. And that's where we have to let go of our ego and know that we know everything and know that we know nothing. Because in the whole scheme of the cosmos, we know one little speck and very little else. Our knowledge is so small. So, believe in your guardian angel. I love you.